Good day, everyone. This is Darren, and today we will be talking about my inquiry based learning project on ICC, also known as Intercultural Communication Competence. So, to our intro, the general assumption that this study come up with is the lack of surface cultural knowledge tends to be different or misunderstood behavior interactions. This general assumption is that it assumes the lack of surface cultural knowledge often leads to increased communication, apprehension, and a reluctance to initiate further intercultural interactions. This is actually known to be one of the common cases happening in OFWs, of course, relating to all foreign overseas workers. You get the point. So here comes to my one of my assumptions based on my main question, which it will be in the next slide. My first assumption would be prior surface cultural knowledge reduce initial misunderstandings and communication apprehension in new cultural contexts. To put it simply, it's actually important to have prior knowledge before setting off to a new country. Next is motivation to integrate and a willingness to adapt communication are more crucial for developing long-term intercultural competence than simply living in a new culture. This assumption means about actively wanting to fit in and being open to changing one's communication style is more important for becoming truly interculturally competent. Last but third, critically reflected upon communication challenges enhance an individual's tolerance for ambiguity and overall intercultural competence. This means learning from difficult or confusing communication experiences in a new culture helps people become more comfortable with uncertainty and better at communicating across culture. Now, to my main question is that how do individuals navigate and adapt their communication styles and behaviors when transitioning to a new culture, and what role does their prior cultural knowledge and motivation play in their development of intercultural communication competence? So this is based on certain OFW employee and in his perspective. Before heading to another country, it is fundamental to have prior knowledge about its surface culture to have a smooth, comfortable, and adaptable environment. It is also important that when one lacks cultural knowledge, it's best to acquire it from other people from different backgrounds. The most important part is to take the initiative on approaching others. To get along well with others, it's also important to learn how to accept and respect other people's cultural background, especially regional beliefs, as it is a very sensitive topic. And last, integration happens in the long term, gradually lessening the barrier. This base is a summary version how I revised it in my interview with an OFW employee. Now on to conclusion. To validate my assumptions, the first one, prior cultural knowledge is a must, which is actually true to everyone and everything. Prior assumption two, means to be able to communicate and connect with others well. Well, I guess sometimes not everyone is all active on wanting to learn communication style. Just a means to able to communicate well. Assumption three, well, it's not that it's to say that it takes a long process and learn, and of course importantly learn from past mistakes. Only then can they truly adapt. So one of my practical recommendations for um, ICC is one, emphasize pre-arrival learning, which means to have actively engaged in pre-departure cultural learning, such as utilize diverse resources, focus on surface costumes, and connect well with others. Next is cultivate an adaptable and proactive mindset. Prioritize genuine integration and embrace communicative flexibility. Try to set one's own goal about what you want to learn, and of course, at the same time, be respectful for other people's cultural background. And lastly, Embrace and learn from missteps. View communication challenges as opportunities for growth and reflection. Accept one's past mistakes and keep moving forward. So, for what I learned today, or rather from what I learned from my interview, is that it's not easy to adapt well in a different environment, especially when you are in a different country. And it's actually, yeah, it is very fundamental that you need to have some prior knowledge before setting foot to another place. Otherwise, there will be some misunderstandings or some conflicts, which is actually, well, there were some cases that became isolated. Some people became isolated and they fell to depression, and worst case scenario, it's because they actually miss their homeland. They want to return back immediately. Yes, that's why it's actually, yeah, it's really indeed important to have prior knowledge, and at the same time, it's also best to take the initiative on approaching others if it means to understand them and to be active on communicating others. Anyway, so that's all there is to it. Thanks for being here with me and have a great day.